Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we have to talk very specifically about Star Wars and where it is right now. It's in the worst possible place. It's at the bottom. It's never going to recover, at least I don't think so. I'm not sure Starfighter could change my mind, but it certainly won't be changed by Mandalorian and Grogu. In fact, if anything, this is the worst reviewed Star Wars I think I've ever seen. And that's saying something after Solo. But let's talk about it. Here we go. Now, before we get started, quick reminder, double check you're still subscribed to the channel. I would truly appreciate it. We've got a lot going on at the channel right now, including daily or weekday live streams. We're going to have a little hiccup in that scheduling because I'm going to be traveling over the course of the next couple of weeks. But beyond that, everything is going to stay as neat and tidy as possible. So you don't want to miss stuff. So be sure to hit the bell icon, turn on all notifications, hit the thumbs up button while you have a chance and you're thinking about it. And then let's have comments at the end because they really do help these videos. So let's start first. Coming out of, I don't even know where this is, Polygon. You would think Polygon, if any outlet, would be a little more kind to Star Wars. Well, let's read this here review. The Mandalorian and Grogu isn't a Star Wars movie, but it's still a dang good time. This movie probably shouldn't exist, but I'm glad it does. That's not necessarily high praise. In fact, I think that that's obfuscating one of the biggest problems this thing has. And one of the bigger problems that it has is that they've had to slow roll this. They've had to drip it out very slowly, like a poor drip coffee machine, to get anybody at all to believe that it's truly decent. In fact, over at Slash Film, The Mandalorian and Grogu's Rotten Tomatoes score will disappoint Star Wars fans. And let me say it this way, it certainly disappointed me. It was much lower than it is at this very moment in time currently. It was down in the 50s. It is now eking its way back up. But from that story, after nearly 7 years, audiences around the world are gearing up to see a new Star Wars movie in theaters again. The Mandalorian and Grogu not only brings back the characters from the Disney Minus series, The Mandalorian, to the big screen for the first time, but it's also the first film in the franchise since the complicated $1 billion box office hit that was the 2019 The Rinse of Soybeans. Undoubtedly, everybody at Disney and Lucasfilm hoped this would be a home run. Unfortunately, the early critical reaction promises anything but. In fact, at the time of their writing, it was at 62% for the Mandalorian Rotten Tomatoes score. Why do you think that is? Do you think that this film is really that bad, or it's just not Star Wars? What is it that's making the current score this 60%? Why? Well, they have artificially elevated this score to this level prior to its opening weekend, which is a holiday weekend. This is supposed to open gangbusters and get 160 million global. Like that's a big number these days. It's not. In fact, it's only going to get 80 million domestic. The other 80 million they're counting on is international proceeds. And I think it's going to be lower than that. If it goes a little higher, I won't be surprised or disappointed, but I'll be ready to talk about it. And as I'm a reviewer, I'll definitely be releasing a view on this for all of you on Friday. You can count on that. And well, you know, let's just say it this way. 60% is artificially elevated because of the way that Rotten Tomatoes is releasing the reviews a little bit at a time to control the fall. Let's just be honest about that. But we need to be honest about this. The Mandalorian and Grogu splits critics. Most boring Star Wars versus best in decades. The official review embargo has ended. And here's what the critics are saying. This is from The Hollywood Reporter. And again, because this is a Shillfest magazine by PMC, this should be higher, right? I mean, am I wrong that this should be higher? I don't know. Let's take a look at what they have to say. Critics finally have their chance to weigh in on The Mandalorian. The official review embargo was lifted Tuesday morning on Disney's first Star Wars film in 7 years. The verdict? The first batch of reviews are decidedly split on Jon Favreau's film. Several reviewers praise the Disney Minus show's big screen debut as a fun, standalone adventure that benefits from Pedro Pascal's laconic delivery as the helmeted bounty hunter. He's basically a glorified voice actor. The cutscenes of Grogu and a dynamic score by the composer Ludwig Göransson. The film's snowy opening sequence, which has been shown in advance for fan screenings, is cited as a particular high point. Really? I didn't think that what I had seen so far looked all that high point to me. In fact, it looks like somebody must have been getting high if they were going to think that this was going to be a good Star Wars film. But hey, those are my opinions. They don't have to be yours. Look, it's felt like homework, according to the BBC. Why Star Wars went so wrong? Well, because it was homework. A lot of it, especially season 3, was so wildly disconnected from the first 2 seasons, and it was so politically driven because of the, rushing out the door of Gina Carano that, Disney kind of showed their hand and destroyed their plans, all in service of a political narrative. That's why, but what does the BBC think? The Mandalorian and Grogu is released this week and is set for the lowest opening weekend of any Star Wars film ever. That's saying a lot. Solo didn't do very well. With the TV shows also struggling, here's why interest is waning. It's been 7 years since the Star Wars franchise visited a galaxy far, far away on the big screen. In December 2019, The Prince of Soybeans, the third and final film in the franchise's sequel trilogy, was released, earning $1.07 billion. And now that we officially know just how much money was spent on this, a lot of people are still questioning if this was a profitable movie. It pulled around half of the first film in the trilogy. That's not a good sign. 2015's The Force Awakens made quite a bit of money, basically recreating the New Hope, or A New Hope, as Star Wars was later renamed. This disappointing amount reflected the increasingly poor audience and critical response to the 3 films. A year earlier, in 2018, the standalone film Solo, a Star Wars story, it also bombed hard, earning a $393 million global number, which is terrible. Since then, the film series has been a lengthy hiatus, while Lucasfilm, bought by Disney for $4.05 billion in 2012, has been busy expanding Star Wars universe on TV, and of course with the failed novel series about the Let's Get High Republic, and a lot of live action shows that people just basically weren't connected with. The hit The Mandalorian was only such for 2 years. Season 3, as I mentioned before, was a disaster, and however, interest in these has declined as they have proliferated. The most recent new series, 2025 Skeleton Crew, recorded the lowest opening ratings for a Star Wars show yet, while 2024's Acolyte was canceled after 1 season, for good reason. All of this to say that there's a reason it doesn't feel like Star Wars, because it's not. It hasn't been in a long time. The closest we got was The Mandalorian, and it was about to get better in season 3 with no more carting around a little green kid that can't speak, is 50, and essentially worthless. So I'm not necessarily super excited about this, nor do I believe the audience is. But let's jump into a story that I think will be surprising to most of you from Kotaku. Star Wars The Mandalorian reviews say it's bringing little screen energy and lacking anything special. Oh boy. And Grogu is definitely putting the mid in midichlorians. You know what? I agree. Thank you, Lewis Parker, for being honest about this. It's been over 3 years since the last season of Disney's Pedro Pascal-led space western, The Mandalorian, was released, and roughly 6 years, or 7 actually, since we last saw a live-action Star Wars film on the big screen. And while the likes of Star Wars Skeleton Crew and Andor have filled the gap in storytelling in the years between, 2026 has marked an unusual pause in the never-ending stream of live-action Star Wars spin-offs. Yeah, because nobody is watching them. You have to have people watch. You have to have actual interest in order to keep spending several $100 million for, 8 to 10 episode seasons? That's quite crap. I'm sure you all agree. But now the Mandalorian is back to fill the void with the Mandalorian and Grogu's. And Disney and Lucasfilm are clearly hoping that fans will forget how bad the show's 3rd season was, that it's made the transition to the big screen with the Mandalorian and Grogu hitting theaters on May 22nd. I think a lot of people are going to hit the Grey Goose before they go and see this, but I could be wrong. Worse yet, like I said, I don't think you could get a worse number or a worse rating or a worse review from Kotaku if you asked. Normally, they are so pro shilliness that they put the access in Access Media. And to have them be this dreadfully honest is a breath of fresh air. It's almost like they got rid of the people and sent them over to the Mary Sue, while the Mary Sue is sending some of their people over to Screen Rant now, which is why the Screen Rant is running downhill rather quickly. But the last word, of course, is going to be from a guy that really does pay attention to the box office. It's going to be the box office guy at Deadline named Anthony D'Alessandro. Let's take a look at what he has to say with the Star Wars and Mandalorian with Grogu hopes to hyperspace to 160 million global opening over Memorial Day weekend. Mind you, this is a 5-day weekend. That includes Thursday previews through the holiday Monday. And they want this to be something big. Will it be? I doubt it. Let's take a look at what he says. The good news is that this is Memorial Day weekend won't be the lowest post-global crisis, and Lucasfilm Disney Star Wars won't open as low as Warner Brothers Furiosa did 2 years ago at this time with 32.3 million 4-day. The new hope is that the pick from director Jon Favreau, co-written by EP Dave Filoni and Noah Kloor, will meet or exceed its $80 million 4-day tracking in North America. I think somebody, again, is being a little too hopeful here. A lot of things are, cross-promoting with this, including Burger King. They've got a promo partner that deal with Lucasfilm on this one. Blue Milk didn't do a lot for me when it was at the Star Wars lands and the various theme parks, and neither did the Green Milk. But I don't think it's going to do much for Burger King specifically. Let's get back to the story. Global outlook is 160 worldwide, with 80 million from a 98% footprint offshore. The only territory not going this weekend is Korea, which means every market but Korea is open. The start for 165 million net productions will be slightly ahead of the global opening for 2018 Solo, the Star Wars story, but I don't think that's going to be true. Anyway, look, this is not a positive outlook when you're going into 4,300 theaters, as he says here. 425 of those are IMAX, and I don't think that it's getting the full kind of weight that it needs, despite being in the full suite of PLF, 4DX, 3D, and ScreenX theaters. I think the force is maybe being forced into The Mandalorian, but I don't think it's going to do well. And he cites a 61% fresh rating, which is quite garbage, on The Mandalorian. And just recall that Solo, as awful as it was, is still 69% fresh over on Rotten Tomatoes. On that note, let's just sum this all up. These numbers are awful. If this film performs this poorly and drops 65% in its second weekend, it will lose money. And it will cause Disney to lose faith in what I thought was an impossible to beat down property IP in Star Wars. But hey, they've done it already with Marvel, so why not? You can be 2 for 2 under Iger's tutelage and his blatant messaging problem. I don't know. What do you guys think? You think Mandalorian and Grogu will somehow miraculously perform? Do you think I'm going to see the movie and review it positively because it's fantastic? Do you expect that other people in my same genre will do the same? Yeah, the niche might be a little focused on just what this film lacks, because this is basically our pop culture center, Star Wars, and Mandalorian hasn't felt that since season 2. Regardless, let me know what you think. Any comments you have down in the comment section below would be appreciated, even if it's just to say hi. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya! Just not watching a terrible, terrible Star Wars movie, I hope. See you for the review on Friday.